vidita viditabhya tad anyate viti shasanat bandha mokshadayo bhava tadvadatmani kalpitaha. As it is taught in the Shruti that the self is different from both the known and the unknown, it is other than the manifested and the unmanifested. The ideas such as bondage, liberation, etc. are likewise superimposed on the self.
Yes. So the idea here, things that are manifested, things that come into being that can be objectively known, and then they cease to be manifested. The cup was made at some point, I'm going to just guess, say 2000. Prior to that, it had prior non-existence, unmanifested, came into being, manifested. If I drop it and break it, it'll have subsequent unmanifestation, non-existence. The self is other than that. For example, can you see that there's a phone in my hand? Yes. Can you see that there's no phone in my hand? Yes. What is that by which both manifestation and non-manifestation is known? It is other than all of that. Now, again, this is advanced teaching. In the beginning of Viveka Chudamani, we have this very famous section, becoming Adhikari, a fit student. And what are the 4 qualifications of a fit student? Anyone remember?
Viveka, Vairagya, Sampati, and
Mumukshutva. So we're going to deal with the 4th one right now. The burning desire for liberation. So we have an ego identity of being the mumukshu. In Gita, Krishna says, if you cannot see who you are, then by all means be a yogi. I don't want to see myself as husband, wife, father, child, IT worker, doctor, dancer, etc. like that. What is my identity if I'm ego identified? Be a yogi, be a mumukshu, be a seeker after liberation, be a sadhaka, a seeker. This is the engine that drives us. This is a desire, the burning desire for liberation. Then what we are to do is sublimate our worldly desires into that. So correct me, you being the mental health professional, but Swamiji used to use the word sublimation. When I let go of a lesser desire for a greater one. Is that how you understand it? Mm-hmm. Yes, no?
Yes.
Okay. Classic example, students in the dorm room, it's Friday night. She's got a paper due Monday morning. She really wants to get a good grade on that paper. All her friends knock on the door and says, we're going out for pizza and beer. It's going to be so much fun. You want to come join us? And the desire arises, oh, FOMO, fear of missing out. But I've got this paper to do. And I really want to get a good grade because this is my career path. So she says, oh, I really want to go, but this is more important. You folks have a good time. So this is sublimation, where we let go of a lesser desire for a greater desire. So what we do as yogis, what becomes my engine for sadhana, okay? All my friends are out living an extroverted life. They're out partying and socializing and drugs, sex, and rock and roll. Acquiring things, ambitious in their careers, etc. And they seem to be okay. But I want self-realization. And I believe what the scriptures tell me. The price tag is mature vairagya, indifference to worldly phenomena. Not hatred, not fear, not disgust, but nonchalance, indifference. Knock yourself out. I'm going to meditate. I'm going to study scripture. I'm going to spend time in satsang. I'm going to live a simple life. Focus my mind on sadhana. Because I'm a mumukshu. And then what happens? Guru in its three forms. One form, the external teacher. Second form, the circumstances of my life. Third form, my own internal guidance. Smacks me around, shows me where am I attached, where am I identified, scrubs off vasana, scrubs off vasana. Until ego-prompted desire, ego identification is thin. This is called vairagya, that desire to give up all attachments to experiences gained through the senses, and all forms of self, starting from the body up to and including the form of Brahma, the Creator, is called vairagya. We use the desire for liberation as the engine for it. But we have to understand, as we mature in our sadhana, the mumukshu never arrives. For the ego to arrive at self-realization is like desiring to attend your own funeral. What is the mark of the woman of knowledge? She knows. Aham Brahmasmi. I am that Chidakasha, that space of pure awareness. And at the end, we give up the mumukshu. There are only two kinds of people in the world. those who think they're a person and those who know they are Brahman. Now listen carefully. If you think you're realized, if you think you're an enlightened person, you're still a fool. No personal sense of self is real. So in the end, we give up our concern for bondage and liberation. I'm sitting here looking at the table and there is a bowl on the table. If I put the bowl in a box, does it touch me? No. If I take the bowl out of the box, does it touch me? No. Likewise, if the stupid mind reacts, who cares? If the mind has its aha, oh, I am Brahman. Valuable. Now let even only aham, I, is real. So the practice at the end of the journey is our renunciation of the mumukshu itself. And you can tell when somebody is attached or identified that they know something significant, because they really want to tell you about it. Want to let you know how enlightened they are. I've had this experience and this samadhi, and I've with this guru. Nonsense. The trap with a verse like this is again what I call the madontological. It is true. Both bondage and liberation are illusory. The self is ever free. But if you take on that understanding, while the heart is full of desire, and the mind, the intellect, is full of doubt and confusion, we simply rationalize our suffering. And that's not freedom. Any thoughts on this? It's a subtle paradox. Next verse.
Nahoratre yatha surye prabharupa visheshataha bodharupa visheshanan bodha bodha tathatmani. Just as there is no day or night in the sun, as it is of the nature of light only, so is there no knowledge or ignorance in the self, which is of the nature of pure consciousness only.
Yes. So If I were to say I'm thinking of an arithmetic problem, do you know what problem I'm thinking of? Do you know that you do not know? Yeah. Are you ignorant, or do you know ignorance? The self is not ignorant. The self knows ignorance. 2 + 3 is 5. Now you know. It's the same you that illumine both knowledge and ignorance. Now again, we don't use a verse like this to discount sadhana, because the fact of the matter, where is my suffering? It's in my mind. Oh, my suffering isn't real. Oh, my suffering isn't real. Doesn't do anything. I think I'll take an Ativan. My suffering isn't real. Ativan isn't real. It didn't work very well. I'm going to add a Valium. That didn't work either. Heroin. Yes. You can rationalize anything. You can rationalize anything. Bad behavior. Oh, I cheated on my husband. Doesn't matter, it's not real. He's going to leave me. Doesn't matter, it's not real. I'm a bad lady. Doesn't matter, it's not real. That's stupid. So what do I need to do? Deal with the suffering mind. Why is my mind suffering? 2 reasons. The root of it, in my mind. I do not know who I am. 2, I don't know where happiness is. This knowledge occurs to the mind. Who am I? Aham Brahmasmi. Where's happiness? It's my self nature. Where does that knowledge go at night when you're in deep sleep? Gone. Both bondage and liberation occur to the mind. The self is ever free. In Gita, Krishna will say, be you ever vigunaihi, beyond the gunas, and ever remain in the sattvic state. Make up your mind, Krishna. First you say be beyond the gunas, then you tell me to be in one of the gunas. Doesn't make sense. Yes, it does. Identify as the self that is the witness of all mind states, including this mind state of ignorance and the mind state of knowledge. None of it touches me. And that insight's in the mind. Now, if you want to be happy, maintain a sattvic mind state. Another way to look at it, the mumukshu, the sadhaka, is seen to be doing spiritual practices. Why? So he can purify his mind and realize the self. The jnani, the woman of knowledge, may also be seen to be doing spiritual practices. It does not add to her knowledge. It's just the highest form of worldly pleasure. She enjoys it. It's her method of reveling in the self. Any thoughts? Next verse.
Yathoktam brahmayo veda hanopadana varjitam yathoktena vidhanena satyam neva jayate. Knowing Brahman described as having no connection with acceptance or rejection, according to the method delineated, one is certainly never born again.
Yes. So in the scriptures, we have neti, neti, not this, not this. Things are to be rejected. I'm not the body, not the mind, not the thoughts. Brahman is not the phenomenal world, not the total mind, not Vasana, not Ishvara. What am I? I am witnessing consciousness. Brahman is the ground of being. This is acceptance and rejection. It is a mental process. Once we develop the trick, the skill of being able to tune up the mind, where does all that acceptance and rejection go? Next one.
Janma mrityu pravaheshu patito neva shukriyat ita buddhartumatmanam jnanadanyena kenachit. One who has fallen into the stream of births and deaths cannot save oneself by anything else except knowledge.
Yes. What this refers to, as long as I am under the throes of spiritual ignorance, first comes Avarana Shakti, the non-apprehension of myself as Brahman. Where does it occur? In the subtle intellect. Then comes the Vikshepa Shakti, the projecting power. What's projected? What we're concerned with is just three things. Jiva Bhavana, I think I'm a person. Simultaneously with that is a goal. That feeling of being a person is always incomplete. Or if I'm okay, it's so temporary. And the goal only takes two forms, one of two forms at a time. I either need to play whack-a-mole with the world, fix this, that, and the other thing, or I need to fix me. I'm not okay. I'm not tall enough. I'm not skinny enough. I'm not talented enough. And then comes struggle, kartavya. That is samsara. That's karma chakra. That's reincarnation. That's dukkha. All of it, just those three projected ideas. They come about just like the dream comes about. At night, first is Varana Shakti, failing power, meaning I fall asleep. Then comes Vikshepa Shakti. Ta-da! There's the dream. And to the dreamer, the resolution of the conflicts in the dream seems so real. I've got to get from here to there. I've got to solve this problem. I've got to protect myself from this, that, or the other thing. And there's no resolution of that issue in when I wake up, go. So my problems with my world and what I need and getting my needs met. I mean mine, I mean mine, I mean mine. Jiva Bhavana, rooted in I think I'm a person. Just like we don't try to solve the dreamer's problems. Wake up. Stop. Still the mind. Notice the knower. And that jiva bhavana, that sense that I'm a person, falls. Because it's nothing real. Instead, there's nobody there. It's just sound being heard. Sensation in the body. Thought or feeling going by. Where did I go? Where did my individuality go? It was there a moment ago. Now it's gone. Next verse.
Vidyate hridaya granthi rischadyante sarva sanshayah kshiyante chasya karmani tasmin drishta iti shruteha. The Shruti says that the knots of the heart are torn asunder, all doubts disappear, and one's actions come to an end when the self is seen.
So the self is seen by what? Mind you, the self doesn't get realized. It happens in the subtle intellect. The aha. Mind stops, only needs to stop for a moment. And then when the mind starts again, it's conditioned. Oh my gosh, there's nothing there. This aha, pratyabhinyana, recognition. Then No action can improve the self. No action can diminish the self. No sadhana can make more self. Sadhana can obscure. Next verse.
Mama hamityetad tadapokya sarvato vimukte teham padambaro mamam sushtrishta shastra numitibhya iritam vimuchyate smin yadi nishchito naraha.
Change the meter on you.
Yeah. It's the last verse of the chapter. So a man gets liberated if he discards the ideas of me and mine in all respects and gets the perfect conviction in the ether-like goal, devoid of the gross and subtle bodies, described here according to right inference and the scriptures well studied.
So, what is liberation? Both bondage and liberation occur to the mind. What's my bondage? Nothing more than the deeply rooted conviction in the mind that I am bound, meaning I think I'm my body. What is the cause of that bondage? Ignorance of the self, attachment to the world. Ignorance makes me think I'm a person and makes me think that the world is inherently joy-giving and misery-producing. What is liberation? There is no other liberation other than the deeply rooted conviction in the mind, the subtle intellect, based on direct experience, not indirect knowledge. Not that I'm an enlightened person or a liberated person, but that I am Brahman. I was never bound in the first place. It was all just a very long, very vivid dream. I was never born. I do not change. I cannot die. It's safe. All. And what is happiness? Happiness is simply renouncing the tyranny of the projecting mind. When my mind is tyrannized by my likes and my dislikes, by my control issues, by my expectations, by my cravings, by my resentments. It's a wonderful Yiddish word, mishigas, craziness. That's my suffering. Rooted in spiritual ignorance, I do not know where peace is, where happiness is, where contentment is. It's the mind reveling in the self. Let go. Come home. In the end, it's so simple. That ends that chapter.
Yes.
Good one. Let's march on.
Parthiva Prakaranam, chapter 16, consisting of earth.
Consisting of earth or birth?
Earth, like the planet. Parthiva Katino Dhatu Dravo Dehe Smrito Mamyaha Bhakti Cheshtavakasha Surya Vahinvaya Vambor Radvabha. The hard material in the body is known to be a transformation of earth. The liquid part consists of water, and heat, vibration, and apertures in the body are due to fire, air, and ether, respectively.
Okay, so what he's begun to talk about is what we call the Pancha Karana. Pancha means 5. Karana means causes. So it's the 5-fold division and subsequent recombination of the tanmatras, the subtle elements, which end up being the Pancha Bhutani, the 5 gross elements. Now, I struggled with this a lot in my early sadhana because it was clear to me, having a minimal scientific background, that the idea that the elemental essences of the world were not earth, air, fire, water, and space, or ether even. Sounds even stupider. Iron is an element, helium's an element, hydrogen's an element, oxygen's an element, not earth. And later on, it was explained to me that it's all about the Vedantic and yogic understanding of perception. The easiest way to understand it, we've been through this before, I don't know if in this class, but if you are here in my living room and you look at the coffee table, what's the coffee table made of? Wood. What's wood made of? Cellulose. What's cellulose made of? Largely carbon. That's the element. Okay. But let's say I'm dreaming. Remember, to the dreamer, the dream world seems as real as this living room seems to you and me. But what is the coffee table of my dream made of? Well, to the dreamer, it's made of wood. But from the perspective of the waker, what's the dream coffee table made of? Seeability, hearability, tasteability, touchability, smellability, in all sorts of various combinations, which creates name and form, shape, color, experiences. In the dream, it is the mind itself that, as it were, refracts like light through a prism into an individual knower, the various senses, the means of knowledge, and the objective phenomena. In the dream, my dream eyes are just as much imagination as dream seeing, as is the dream object I'm seeing. All of it's just my mind, with some refracted combination of the tanmatras. Earth, smellability. Air, touchability. Fire, seeability. Water, tasteability. Space, hearability. So the sense organs, the sense perceptions, and the sense objects are some combination of all that. Now, that's just us human beings with 5 elements. I watched this groovy YouTube video the other day about electric eels in the Amazon rivers. And the electric eels, I mean, they're powerful. They generate a huge amount of electricity. I'm not quite sure how they do it. But they also sense electricity. They don't see, hear, taste, touch, or smell it. They have a different sense organ for it. I have hands, feet, tongue, anus, and speech. They don't have hands. They don't have feet. I don't even know if they have a tongue. But they've got electricity. Sense organs. Such is the mystery of the world. So, in a larger sphere, maybe there's more than just 5 elements and 5 sense organs. That's just people stuff. But the point is, deepest understanding. What's the difference between the coffee table of the waking state and the coffee table of the dream? Only subtlety. Coffee table of the waking state is grosser than the coffee table of my dream, or even more subtle, an ideal of table. Do you know that's a table, Aditi? Do you know this is a chair? It means inside you have an ideal notion of what a table is. Is that a kitchen armchair that all the stuff is on? What is it?
Yeah, an armoire.
No, it's a table.
Oh, the table. Yeah.
It's a table. Yeah, you know what tables are.
Yeah.
Meaning inside your brain, inside your mind, you have an even subtler ideal of table. Let's see, very, very subtle. That's what we call the Platonic ideal. Those would say it's just the subtlest form of the object. And it gets more grossified as it becomes more specified down to how we perceive the waking state. But all of that is just sankalpa, just imagination. Now, you hear me say this all the time. You are the god of your dream. So if Aditi had a dream last night, I'm not privy to her dream. I, as an individual, you as an individual, are not dreaming this universe. If Aditi gets hit by a bus, the sun doesn't disappear. Ishvara is doing the dreaming. Brahma, the creator, is doing the dreaming. Vishnu is doing the dreaming. Different mythologies. Basically, consciousness itself by its Maya Shakti Its power to create illusion creates all. Now, we to a limited degree participate in that creative process. For example, Aditi's experience of the world and her opinions about it are going to be different than mine and different from yours in Zoomland. It's a deep understanding of the total mind. The whole point here is the world is not concrete and separate from me. Just like if Aditi goes into the bathroom, the mirror appears as the reflection of a beautiful young woman. If I go into the bathroom, the mirror appears as a fat old man. The mirror hasn't changed a bit. The mirror doesn't become Aditi's reflection or Jin's reflection. It's simply its nature. Now, the metaphor breaks down because the mirror needs an external object. Consciousness does not. Just like the waves are nothing but the ocean appearing as the waves. So also all this is Brahman appearing as Nama-Rupa name and form. That metaphor breaks down because the surface of the ocean actually undergoes a change to make waves. Brahman does not. So we have to take the city in the mirror and the waves in the ocean and put them together. Easiest way to understand it is go to your world of fantasy and your world of dream. You close your eyes and visualize an elephant. It is only your one undivided mind that seemingly forks into subject object. I see my imaginary elephant. And then if you visualize a mountain, it doesn't take more of you to visualize the mountain. You can close your eyes and imagine you're on the space station, looking out at the vastness of space. Always wondered about this. For any of you who've been out in a rural area where there's no light pollution and you're up reasonably high, maybe 3,000 or 4,000 feet, you look up, you see how dense the night sky is with stars. You had that experience? Yes? No?
Yes.
You imagine what it must be like from the space station. So many stars. Can you imagine that? Look at what your mind is capable of doing. Creating space, time, phenomenal objects. But you, the subject, undergo no change. And if you stop visualizing the night sky from the space station, you have not lessened it. Purnasya Purnamadaya. When from the fullness of that the fullness of this is taken away. Fullness alone. It's the deep meaning of that mantra. As above, so below, as below, so above. You are a microcosm of the infinite. That's it. So what? Don't worry. Be happy. I will tell you, the world will come and go billions of times. Politics here, politics there. Friends here, friends there. Jobs here, jobs there. Body here, body gone. Look to your direct experience. Whatever has happened in the world of phenomena, you are still you. You've gone nowhere. Even though you may not have known it in your mind, you have always been. ch15, the vast space of pure consciousness. Don't believe me? All right, next verse.
Pranadi dini tadarthascha prithivya diguna kramat rupa loka vidishtam hi sajatiya ritha mindriyam. Smell, etc., i.e., the senses, and their objects are produced from earth, etc., respectively, as the senses have for their objects things of their own kind, example, color and light, the latter being of the same nature as the former, its object.
So in the Tanmatras, we have the knower, the knowing, and the known, each one discrete according to the element and the sense perception. That's all he's saying. Earth, sense of smell; air, sense of touch; fire, sense of sight; water, sense of taste; space or ether, sound. These manifest as the sense organ, the sense perception, and the sense object, all divided and recombined to make the world of name and form subtle all the way on down to gross. That's all he's saying. Any thoughts on this? Next verse.
Buddhaya Thanaya Pure Ani Vakpanya Dini Karmane Tatvikalpartha Mantastham Mana Ekadasham Bhavet. These are called the organs of knowledge. The larynx and the hand, etc., are called the organs of action. And the mind, the 11, which is within the body, is for the purpose of knowing different objects one after another, as they tend to present themselves at the same time.
Yes. So we have 5 organs of action, usually termed the karma indriyas, karmendriyas. Hands, feet, tongue, anus, and genitals. I like to look at that as energy out. Then we have the Gyanindriyas, organs of knowledge, sometimes also called the Buddhindriyas, same thing. Information in, eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin. That's the 10. And now he's talking about the 11th, which is the mind itself. So, for example, if you've been focused on this discussion, have you been paying attention to the sound of the traffic? Listen carefully to the sound of the traffic. Now bring your attention to the feeling of your blouse on your shoulders. So it's what I call the flashlight quality of the mind. It's like on a miner's helmet, you know, the light that they have, and you move your head and the flashlight shines. Or in modern days now, we have bikers' helmets with the light on the head, where if you move your head, you can shine the light various places. This attentive faculty, and it can focus on a sense perception, it can focus on a memory, it can focus on the gross world of name and form, it can focus on the subtle world. Imagine a strawberry, that's a subtle thing. So wherever you direct it, this is the mind, this is the 11. Next one.
Nishchayarthar bhaved buddhir stam sarvarthanubhavinim gyatat mattah swarupena jyotisha yansada. The intellect is for determining objects, always illumining the all-pervasive intellect by its light, which is its own nature. The self is called the knower. The purport of the above 4 verses is that the self is different from the body, the senses, the mind, and the intellect.
So what is the difference between intellect, mind, and sense perception? It's not important. Basically, it has to do with function. What it is what we call chitta, the mind stuff that takes different shapes. The way I like to explain it is this. If I'm out at Ocean Beach in San Francisco, I'm sitting on the beach and I look out to sea and I see something white. First comes direct perception, white object. Then the intellect comes in to try to determine the thatness, the suchness of it. Is it a buoy? Is it a sailboat? Is it the top of a container ship? Is it a cruise liner? What is it out there? I investigate and then I go, oh, it is in fact a cruise ship. Then my mind comes in. I've never been on a cruise. I've often thought it would be really cool to cruise the Eastern Mediterranean and go to Istanbul and Mykonos and maybe along the Adriatic coast and Venice. Oh, golly, a cruise. Wouldn't that be marvelous? So the mind then evaluates with judgment compared with memory, etc. This is how knowing of the phenomenal world takes place. It happens so fast and so automatically. All that Vedanta has done is break it down into sense perception, determine the nature of it, find it out. Any thoughts on this? All right, next one.
Vyanjakastu yatha loko Vyangyasya karatam tataha Yatikirno Vyasankirna Tatvadya Pratyaye Sada. Just as light assumes the forms of objects revealed by it, but is really different from them, though apparently mixed up with them, so the self is different from the mental modifications whose forms it assumes while revealing them.
So, if at night I take a flashlight, let's say we have a power outage here, and I shine the flashlight on the statue of the Buddha on the coffee table. Aha, there's the Buddha statue. The light strikes the Buddha statue and is reflected into my eyes. I'm not seeing the Buddha statue. I'm seeing the light that's reflected by the Buddha statue. It borrows its shape and color, etc. But the light is not changed into a Buddha statue. It's still my flashlight. So also, consciousness assumes the quality of perception in the senses. It assumes the knowledge of feelings. It assumes the knowledge of thought. Really what happens, it is this chitta, this mind stuff, which forms in these various ways, always illumined by a knower, which is never touched by it. There's always a subject-object relationship. The locus of sentience, the locus of bhava, being, the object, jada, inert. It does not know itself. It does not illumine itself. Whether it be a gross object in the gross world, subtle object in the world of mind, or an idea, thought. One thought doesn't know another. One feeling doesn't know a thought. Even in the world, the phenomena are inert. Wait a minute. I see Oddity over there on the couch. I think she's a sentient being. Wait a minute. Oddity, are you aware of your body? Does your nose know your toes?
No.
Or do you know the nose and the toes?
I know the nose and the toes.
So from your viewpoint, your body is jada, inert. It has movement, but it is not the sentient principle. Why should I assume it's a sentient principle? You see the point? What I see across there on the couch is not the sentient principle. It's another inert form. But we got something a little bit kind of cool here. I look into your eyes. You look back. A conscious sentient being is looking out of those eyes. People say the eyes are the windows of the soul. They are magic holes in space-time, out of which the infinite peeps. This is poetry, literalist. Conscious being that is Aditi, which is Brahma, is not inside her body keeping up. Yet it is illumined by, enlivened by a conscious entity. Magic holes in eternity. All right, we'll stop here. What verse are we on for next week?
We're on verse 6.
Verse 6. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Thank you all.